ever get a Democratic president, they could say, I don't like Melania Trump. She wasn't born here. She was born in Slovenia. She is a naturalized citizen. She's out of here. And by the way, Ivana Trump, the late Ivana Trump, who's buried in the golf course in New Jersey in Donald Trump's golf club.
That's exactly right. And I think that, you're asking for a level of logic from these Republican Congress members that they just don't have. It's turned into a cult party.
She wasn't an American citizen, and 3 of her children are Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka. And maybe the next Democratic president says, you know what, I don't like the Trumps. And so we're going to denaturalize all of the Trump children whose mother was a foreigner at the time.
What if Donald Trump's own immigration policies could come back to haunt his family? The word deport wasn't just a slip on Joy Reid's part. It's exposing some very personal ironies. Stick around as we unpack how Melania Trump's citizenship might be the ultimate irony in Trump's immigration saga.
During a visit last week to so-called alligator Alcatraz, Trump did indeed float the idea of deporting naturalized citizens who have committed serious crimes.
That would be a serious escalation. Trump, I obviously don't agree that we should kick. I mean, people who commit violent crimes should be imprisoned. If they are not citizens and if they're here illegally, they can be imprisoned and then deported or, I guess it's a fine thought experiment, and I myself use slippery slope arguments all the time, so I guess I won't really fault Joy Reid for going there. I guess what I would have liked to hear from Representative Jayapal was, well, we would never do that.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Deported to a prison or whatever is the proper procedure, that's fine. People who are American citizens and commit serious crimes, that is just as serious, and I'm occasionally this focus on the immigration status is getting around our crime prop. We have a crime prop. We can't, I don't think we can denaturalize. I am not up to date on this aspect of the law, but that is the serious solution, not trying to deport them, I think. So I don't know why we need to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. So
in many American cities, some of these crimes are being committed by illegal immigrants, but not all of them. And I don't care whether it's an illegal immigrant or a lawful immigrant or a citizen or somebody whose ancestors came over on the Mayflower. I want violent criminals put away.
Imagine this. One word, just one, setting Donald Trump off like a cartoon volcano. During a live broadcast, Joy Reid casually dropped the word deport, but she wasn't pulling it out of thin air. She was making a pointed observation about Trump's notorious immigration policies that have thrown countless families into chaos. The jab landed squarely when she tied it to Trump's own family dynamic. And let's just say it wasn't subtle. Reid questioned how Melania and Barron Trump might fare under the very same rules Donnie has championed for years.
So, denaturalization was something that was almost unheard of, I think, up until very recently.
That's for someone who becomes a citizen and then we're stripping away their citizenship. I mean, possibly that could be done in some of the cases if people. But
I think previously, whenever the suggestion was made at all, which was very, very seldom, the idea was if someone was a naturalized citizen and then committed actual treachery,
commit very serious violent crimes, who came here and got citizenship, and maybe that could be taken away. I guess I'm not necessarily wholly opposed to that.
Cue the meltdown. Now, it's worth asking, why would this get under Trump's famously orange skin? The guy has based entire rallies on chanting, lock her up and build the wall, so you'd think he'd have tougher armor. But here's the kicker. His outrage over Reid's comment drips with irony. Because if anyone's immigration history deserves a little extra attention, it's his very own wife.
So somebody comes from the old Soviet Union, becomes a naturalized US citizen, and then turns out to be a Soviet spy, then you take the citizenship away. No, and this denaturalization argument...
We could take away their right to vote, I guess, is the...
Yeah, well, as
fine.
as happens with people who are born here and
are incarcerated
felonies and so forth.
More importantly, you imprison them.
Right.
We would not send them back to the Soviet Union in this case. We would not send them back to China. We would imprison them.
Right. No.
Just getting the people out of the country is not necessarily and always the point.
While Trump built a presidency scrutinizing who gets to call America home, has Melania's past really been given that same level of inspection? That's the nerve Joy Reid struck, and it's one Trump clearly didn't want the spotlight on. The Deport Melania remark exploded online almost instantly. Social media lit up, turning Reid's comment into a trending topic and a full-blown debate. People started pointing fingers, dragging receipts, and highlighting the hypocrisy of Trump's policies meant to vet and expel immigrants, potentially taking aim at his own family.
The danger, I think, is that the denaturalization element seems to be part of this broader, very, very hard line on immigration.
How poetic is that? And it's not just internet humor. Serious commentators have chimed in, drawing comparisons to historical moments where rhetoric about outsiders backfired spectacularly. The irony is as thick as Trump's makeup. So here's where it gets even stickier. Could the rules Trump pushed for actually apply to Melania? That's where her immigration story comes into play. From what we know, she came to the US as a model, but the exact details of her path to citizenship have always been a bit fuzzy. And calling her journey extraordinary might be as much of a stretch as calling Trump modest. But hold that thought, because this is where her so-called Einstein visa takes center stage. Let's talk about how extraordinary this situation really is. What exactly does it take to score one of those high-prestige Einstein visas? A Nobel Prize? Revolutionizing an industry? Or, apparently, being photographed in a bikini? Melania Trump's EB-1 visa, often called the Einstein visa, is still one of the biggest immigration head-scratchers out there. This particular visa is reserved for individuals with extraordinary ability in fields like science, arts, business, or athletics. Think Albert Einstein fleeing Nazi Germany. Think Serena Williams dominating tennis. It's a visa for the best of the best, or at least it's supposed to be. Melania, at the time of her application, was working as a model. Now, no one's doubting that Melania walked a good runway. But does that really stack up to the extraordinary talent this visa demands? Critics have raised eyebrows for years, questioning how she could meet the strict requirements. These visas aren't just handed out, they are rare. Out of over 1 million green cards issued annually, only about 3,000 are EB-1 visas. It's a category for people who've reached the peak of their fields, individuals so exceptional they're almost irreplaceable. So how exactly Melania's swimsuit photo shoots and catalog spreads earned her a spot in the same ranks as scientific pioneers and groundbreaking artists is, well, unclear. This is where things get murkier. Skeptics and legal experts alike have often speculated that her relationship with Donald Trump might have greased the wheels. Immigration attorneys have weighed in, many pointing out how this path usually requires verifiable evidence of awards, published works, or game-changing achievements. There's no evidence Melania walked into a Pulitzer ceremony or revolutionized the fashion industry. Meanwhile, a sarcastic joke floats around that being Donald Trump's girlfriend qualifies as an extraordinary ability. Let's face it, enduring Trump every day might be a talent in its own right, but it doesn't exactly meet immigration law standards. Then there's the hypocrisy angle. Trump spent years building walls, slap pin.